Though women have played important roles in wars throughout history, World War II opened the door to new opportunities for American women. Before the war, most women remained at home to cook, clean, and care for their children. Women who did work outside of the home were typically limited to jobs such as seamstresses, secretaries, nurses, or teachers. When the United States entered World War II, American industries rapidly converted to war production, and the need for workers increased. Women became increasingly important in the workforce as many men left their jobs to join the armed forces. The War Manpower Commission began creating propaganda aimed at convincing women to help in the war effort. Patriotic slogans such as, "Are you doing all you can?" were used to encourage women to join the workforce. Many women took white-collar jobs doing clerical and secretarial work. But others took jobs that involved physical labor. They farmed and worked in factories, producing the supplies, weapons, and ammunition needed by the armed forces. The government created the character Rosie the Riveter to encourage women to do factory work. The public accepted working women because people saw them as fulfilling a patriotic duty, and because people believed it was only a temporary break from women's traditional roles. Though the government encouraged women to work, many women faced discrimination. Employers often refused to hire women, and many women workers were paid less than men with the same job. The National War Labor Board tried to remedy this by insisting on equal pay, but many employers did not comply. Despite these obstacles, women rose to the occasion and put their hearts and souls into the war effort. By 1944, 19 million American women were employed. They generally worked 48 hours a week plus overtime, and many were only given Sundays off. Those who did not work outside the home faced hardships as well. The life of a wartime housewife was not easy. Due to rationing of everyday items such as sugar, butter, and meat, housewives frequently had to travel to several markets to find food needed for family meals. In the past, women relied on canned goods, but during the war, these products were rationed. Many women began to grow victory gardens in their yards, producing their own fruits and vegetables. Many housewives took night jobs to help their families and their country. In addition to working out of the house, these women had to care for their children, cook meals from scratch, and hand-wash clothes and dishes. With so much to do, many got only a few hours of sleep each night. Worn out from the effort, many women ended up quitting their night jobs to focus on their home life. In an effort to help these women, Congress passed the Lanham Act. It created daycare centers where mothers could place their children while they worked. However, only about 3,000 daycare centers were set up, serving fewer than 150,000 children. Many women were forced to leave their children in the care of neighbors or relatives so they could work. Women did not only help out behind the scenes. Some took more direct roles in the war effort. Nurses left the United States to serve in military and naval hospitals overseas. And the armed forces actively recruited females to take on important military roles. Of the 16 million Americans in uniform during World War II, about 350,000 of them were women. In 1941, Congresswoman Edith Nurse Rogers introduced a bill to create the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps for service with the Army. When Congress passed the bill, the WAAC came into being. Under the leadership of Ovida Kalpabi, women who enlisted in the WAAC were trained in non-combatant military jobs. They worked as radio operators, technicians, parachute riggers, and cryptographers. Women were also assigned to flying duties, and eventually over 1,800 women served as pilots. By taking on these vital tasks, women allowed more men to be released into combat. In 1943, the WAAC was converted into the WAC, or Women's Army Corps. With this change, women for the first time became part of the Army itself. Though women served in the military, many Americans worried about the safety and reputations of these women. In response, newsreels were created to paint women's Army experience in a positive light.
In the United States, the Women's Army is taking over more operations jobs.
In reality, military women sometimes faced condescension, prejudice, and resentment. The roles women had played in the workforce caused a number of changes after the war ended and troops came home. While working in factories during the war, women began to dress differently. They started wearing pants and cutting their hair short to keep it from getting caught in machinery. These fashion trends remained in style after the war. But World War II gave women much more freedom than simply the ability to wear pants. During the war, many women experienced social and economic mobility for the first time. Many women chose to continue working after the war. They enjoyed their newfound independence, and the income they earned was important to themselves and their families. Some of those women, however, faced salary decreases or demotions once the men who had previously held their jobs returned to the workforce. And most factory owners expected women to leave their posts when the men returned from the war. But long-term opportunities opened up for women in white-collar jobs. The number of women working in secretarial and clerical positions in the late 1940s was 5 times greater than before the war. Still, some women were glad to return to their duties at home. Others quit their jobs because their husbands thought they should. But the experience and knowledge they gained while working during the war would stay with them for the rest of their lives.
What roles did women play in the economy before the war? What challenges did working women face during the war?